Dear students, welcome to our YouTube channel Vidya for Success. In this video, let us start the new lesson, that is biomolecules. Is the topics to be covered in this lesson are how to analyze chemical composition, primary and secondary metabolites, biomolecules, proteins, polysaccharides, nucleic acids, structure of proteins, nature of bond linking monomers in a polymer, dynamic states of body constituents, the living states, and enzymes. So, children, this lesson is very important for the point of examination, right? So, let let us have an introduction to this lesson. So, why actually we are studying about the biomolecules? What do you mean by biomolecules? So, before understanding this concept, so let us first think about the things we have already discussed in our previous lessons. So, in our previous lessons, we understood that there is a huge diversity we have in the living organisms, right? So, there is a varieties of living organisms we can see on earth, right? So, if we look into such a huge diversity, one of the question will be arises in our mind is, does all living organisms are made out of same chemicals or elements? Because we have already studied like one of the basic structural and functional unit present in the living organism is cell, right? So we also studied about the cell organelles, and we understood the chemical composition of the plasma membrane and some other cell organelles. So if we look into those things, one of the question will be arises is, does all living organisms are made out of same chemicals compound? That is the question. So if we work on this question, so one of the thing we will come to know by the chemical analysis is all living organisms, that means chemical analysis of all living organisms shows the presence of the same kind of elements like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and several other chemicals, right? So these are the main elements they got when they conducted the chemical analysis on different living organisms. So it may be a microorganisms, or it may be a plant tissue, or it may be a animal tissue. So if you conduct the chemical analysis on different kinds of organisms, so we will get a list of chemicals present in those organisms. So all the list shows the presence of same type of elements, that is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and some of the other chemicals. And children, if you do the chemical analysis on the earth crust taken as a sample, we will also get the list showing the same chemicals. That means it will also show the presence of carbon, hydrogen, and this one oxygen, and some of the other chemicals. So one of the thing will come to our mind by looking to these two lists is there any difference between uh, the chemicals present in the living organisms and non-living things? Is there any difference, or there is no difference at all? So one of the thing after they came to know is the living organisms shows the major percentage of carbon and hydrogen with respect to the other elements. So if we compare the elements obtained by the analysis of living organisms, we come to know that hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon present in major percentage compared to the chemical list what we have got by the chemical analysis of non-living things. So by this we can understand the living organism's body made out of major percentage of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen compared to the non-living things. So this is what the main thing we have to focus on here. Clear? So when we work on it, we will come to know that the things, that means the chemicals present in the living organisms made out of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. It does not mean that other elements are not present in our body. It is not like that. But if we look into the major percentage of elements present in our body, that is always carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So that biomolecules are nothing but, bio is nothing but what? Life. Molecules are nothing but, so some of the molecules present in the living organisms are called as biomolecules. So biomolecules are forming life. So some of the molecules which are forming life on earth, they are considered as a biomolecules. Right? So how can we exactly define the biomolecule? Yes, children, in this tabular column, we can understand the relative abundance of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen in the living organisms compared to the non-living things. So, in the first column, they have given the list of elements. And we can understand in this tabular column how the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen are present in more percentage in the living organism compared to the non-living. So earth crust is a non-living and human body is considered as a living organism, right? So all these elements they have listed here, they are present both in living organism as well as non-living things, right? So just we compare the percentage of element in living and non-living thing. So let us look into the first element, that is hydrogen. So the percentage of hydrogen in the earth crust is 0.14 and in the human body the percentage is 0.5. So comparatively the human body consists of more amount of hydrogen because hydrogen is present in carbohydrate and it is also present in protein, like, so hydrogen is also present in water, right? So the abundance of hydrogen is more in the living organism compared to the non-living thing. And the next element is carbon. So the amount of carbon in the earth crust is 0.03 and in the human body 18.5. So carbon is present more percentage in the living organism compared to the non-living thing, right? So where do we find the carbon? So carbon is present in the carbohydrate, it is present in the amino acids and it is also present in proteins, lipids. So relatively the abundance of carbon is more in the living organisms than non-living thing. Then nitrogen. So nitrogen is very little in the earth crust and in the human body it is present in 3.3, right? So the nitrogen is also present in more amount. So nitrogenous base present in the genetic material DNA and RNA consist of nitrogen. So the relative abundance of nitrogen is more in the living organism than non-living thing. And the third element is oxygen. Sorry, it is written as carbon there. It is actually oxygen. So the oxygen percentage in the earth crust is 46.6. But in the human body, the amount of oxygen is 65.0. So more amount of oxygen is present in the human body. So where do we find the oxygen? So oxygen is present in water. So major percentage of our body consists of water, right? So oxygen is present in water as well as oxygen present in the uh, carbohydrates. So the percentage of oxygen is more in the living organisms than earth crust. Then let us come to the sulfur. So the percentage of sulfur in the earth crust is 0.03, but in the human body it is present in 0.3. So where do we find the sulfur? So sulfur is a component of some of the amino acids, like cysteine consists of sulfur, and sulfur is also present in the genetic material, that is DNA, right? Then let us come to the sodium. Sodium percentage in earth crust is 2.8, and in the human body it is 0.2. And calcium percentage in earth crust is 3.6, and in the human body it is 1.5. So compared to the non-living thing, the percentage of calcium in human body is less. And magnesium percentage in the earth crust is 2.1. It is present in great percentage compared to the living organisms. So we can compare the elements here in this tabular column. So comparatively, the abundance of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen is more in the living organism than in the non-living thing. So the organic, that means the organic compounds present in the living organisms, they are made out of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So because of this, the relative abundance of these molecules are more in the living organisms than in the non-living thing. Biomolecules. How can we define the biomolecules? So biomolecules are nothing but they are the carbon containing compounds in the living organisms. So whatever the compounds present in the living organisms, if they are made out of carbon, they are named as biomolecules. So we can define the biomolecules as carbon containing compounds. So carbon containing compounds in the living organisms are called as biomolecules. So what is the role of biomolecules in our body? Why do we need biomolecules? So daily we take food in order to release energy, right? Because we need energy to perform any kind of work. So that we eat the food. Sometimes the food what we take comes from the plants, and sometimes we take the food coming from animal, right? So whatever may be the food, when it enters into the digestive system, it is get completely digested and it is get absorbed to release lots of energy required by our body. What is there in the food to release energy? So whether the food is coming from the animal or the plant, that is consist of biomolecules. So biomolecules in the food, when it enters into our body, it undergo a process of digestion and it releases lots of energy. So biomolecules are very essential in order to release energy. And biomolecules are the main constituents of our body. So if you take the structure of plasma membrane, we can see different kinds of biomolecules. If you see the DNA structure, DNA is made out of some of the molecules, right? So the molecules present in the living organisms, they are named as biomolecules. Understood? So in this concept, in this lesson, we are going to study about different kinds of biomolecules present in our body, and how exactly the structure of biomolecule is there, and what is the role of biomolecules, what are the different kinds of biomolecules we have in our body, what is the role of them. Understood? So all these things we are going to study in this particular lesson. So by this we can understand how our body perform work with the help of these biomolecules. Understood? So first let us study is how to analyze the chemical composition. So analysis is very important to understand the different kinds of chemicals present in the living organism. So without analysis, we do not come to know about the different kinds of chemicals in our body. So in order to understand about the chemical composition, we have to do the analysis, right? So there are certain procedures are followed in order to analyze the chemical composition. So what is the first step? So the first step is we have to collect the living tissue. So the living tissue may be from a plant or it may be from a animal, right? So first we have to collect the living tissue. It may be from a vegetable or it may be a piece of animal tissue. So this is the first step. First we have to collect the living tissue. Then after that we have to grind the living tissue by using trichloroacetic acid. So acetic acid is a fluid we are using here. This is acidic in nature. So why we are actually using trichloroacetic acid? So when we grind the living tissue with the help of trichloroacetic acid, some of the chemicals are get dissolved in it, right? So in order to separate the chemicals from the living tissue, we are using trichloroacetic acid. So that by using this acid, we have to grind the living tissue by mortar and pestle. So mortar and pestle is the grinding instrument used for the grinding of living tissue with the acetic acid. Then when we grind the living tissue with this acid, we obtain a thick slurry. So slurry consists of grinded living tissue and trichloroacetic acid. Clear? So in the next step, we have to filter the slurry. So filter will help us to separate the chemicals present in two things, right? So what are the chemicals are get dissolved in the trichloroacetic acid need to be get separated. That is our aim, right? So in order to separate the chemicals, they are dissolved in the trichloroacetic acid, we have to filter the slurry. So as a result of filtration, we get the two fractions. So what is the thing used for the filtration? So they use cheesecloth or cotton cloth for straining the slurry. So as a result of straining, they obtain two fractions. So one of the fraction is called as filtrate and the another fraction is called as retentate, right? So there are two fractions are actually obtained as a result of filtration. So what are the things? They are not actually dissolved in the trichloroacetic acid, form retentate. So that may be a pasted living tissue. Clear? So which are not actually dissolved in the acid, they are get collected in the cheesecloth itself. So that is going to form one of the fraction that is named as retentate. And which are the things? They are already get dissolved in the trichloroacetic acid, they are easily get filtered and they are get collected in the beaker, and that fraction is called as filtrate, right? So these are the two fractions, one is filtrate and another one is retentate. So there are two technical terms are used to represent the fractions obtained after the filtration. So the filtrate is technically called as acid soluble pool. Clear? Acid soluble pool is a technical term we use for the filtrate. So the filtrate consists of the chemicals, they are get dissolved in the trichloroacetic acid, right? And retentate is the another fraction, it is obtained as a result of filtration. This is technically called as acid insoluble pool. As I told you, which are the things are not actually dissolved in the acid, they are retained in the cheesecloth itself, that is named as a retentate. So technical term we use for the retentate is acid insoluble pool. Clear? So among these two fractions, the biomolecules are present in the filtrate, that means in the acid soluble pool. So next step is they will conduct the chemical analysis on the filtrate, so that as a result of chemical analysis they will come to know the presence of chemicals in the acid soluble pool. So there are thousands of organic compounds have found in the acid soluble pool. What do you mean by organic compounds? So organic compounds, you have used this terminology in the chemistry, right? Organic compounds are nothing but biomolecules. So there are thousands of biomolecules have found in acid soluble pool. Clear? So biomolecules or organic compounds are present in the acid soluble pool. So by doing the chemical analysis, we can understand each and every chemical or each and every organic compound present in the acid soluble pool. That you are not going to focus on here how actually the chemical this thing analysis is conducted on each and every compound. That is not required here, but we have to understand that one of the fraction that consists of biomolecule is acid soluble pool. So there are nearly thousands of organic compounds are found in the acid soluble pool. That implies that the carbon containing compounds are present in the acid soluble pool. And one of the question arises here is, don't the living organisms have inorganic compounds? Yes, living organisms also consist of inorganic compounds. But this is not the procedure used to follow for identification of inorganic constituents. So there are some other procedures are followed to identify. So identification of inorganic compounds in living organisms. So we just understood that the analysis of organic compounds in the living organisms. So we followed certain procedure to identify organic compounds. So in the similar way, we follow some of the procedures to identify inorganic compounds in the living organisms. So what is the first step here? So the first step is we have to collect this sample, that means the living tissue. It may be a plant tissue or it may be animal tissue. The first thing is we have to collect the sample, so that the taken sample must be dried. So drying is very important procedure. So why we are drying the living tissue here? What is the purpose of drying the tissue? So in order to identify the inorganic compounds, so here our aim is identification of inorganic compounds. We do not need organic compounds. We do not need carbon containing compounds. So that we must remove the carbon containing compounds from the living tissue. So drying helps to remove some of the elements from the living tissue. So when we dry the living tissue, water in the tissue will be get evaporated, right? Water is nothing but what? H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. So hydrogen and oxygen will be get evaporated when we dry the living tissue, right? So after drying the living tissue, we actually get the dry weight of the material. So the remaining material, what is obtained after drying, will give the dry weight, right? So the dried material in the next step must be burn. So why we are burning here? So burning helps to remove the carbon compound from the tissue. So when we burn the dried tissue, that helps to remove the carbon compound. Carbon compounds are actually get oxidized to gaseous form, so that we eventually removed the carbon compounds by burning the dried tissue. Understood? So after burning the dried tissue, we obtain ash. So the remaining ash, what is obtained after burning, will consist of inorganic elements. So inorganic elements are present in the remaining ash. So that by conducting chemical analysis, they can come to know the different kinds of inorganic elements present in it. Clear? So these are the steps need to be followed in order to understand the inorganic compounds, in order to identify inorganic compounds in the living organisms. right? So they, by the chemical analysis of ash, they came to know the presence of some inorganic elements in it. So those are nothing but calcium, magnesium. So calcium, magnesium, potassium. So these are the certain inorganic constituents of living tissue. Clear? So children, in this video we understood about the chemical analysis. So we came to know that how to analyze the organic compound in the living organisms, and also we understood the identification of inorganic compounds in the living organism. So we follow different steps, different procedure in order to identify organic and inorganic compounds.